Today I'm going to be walking you through how to design a report inside of cloud reporting. Now our cloud reporting is accessed through the administration portal, and in today's case I'm going to be using the reports option on the left hand side. Once I click the reports option, I'm now able to see all of my reports I'm working with. To design a report, I'm going to copy and insert an existing report that I have created already under the common reports. These common reports are built by the Edge, so you should see these as soon as you log in. If I wanted to create a new report from scratch or based off of a common report without clicking the copy and insert option here, I could always choose the new report button in the upper right hand corner. However, for today, I'm going to choose the copy and insert option, and I'm going to copy and insert the pricing request report. Now, once I click the copy and insert button, you'll notice that we have a dialog box that pops up. Inside of this dialog box, you'll notice that we have 4 columns, 3 of which have drop downs at the top. You'll notice cost types, and you'll also notice your config filters as well. So what are these 4 drop downs here at the top? Well, the first dropdown is the source folder. This is where you're copying that report from. In this case, it's coming from the Common Reports folder. The target folder is where this report is going to be saved. This is the ending location for that report. The source template is the report that you are copying from and using as a baseline. And then you simply need to give it a new report name. So in this case, I'm going to call it Troy's report. And I'm going to make a simple modification to the cost types. Instead of it allowing all, I'm going to change it to just material. Now I'm going to go ahead and click Save. If I wanted to, I could apply a filter here, but in today's video, I don't want to. So once I click Save, you'll now notice that it's processing my request, and you'll see that in the upper right hand corner it says your report or your record has been successfully added. And if I go under my reports, I can see Troy's report. So now I want to design this report. The way that I get to the designer is by clicking the edit button on the right hand side. When I click on that pencil and paper icon, now I can go in and I can click the design tool, so that way I can start to modify my report. Now in this case, you are currently seeing that my report is showing my item description, my order quantity, my order unit. My unit price is blank right now, and that's by design because we're leaving that blank so that way if you were getting pricing from your supplier, they could simply manually write in or type in what that pricing is going to be. Up at the top, you'll also notice that we include the name of the company, the address and where that's located, as well as the state and the zip code as well with the city. And you can see that we have the report name and the bid name that you're currently working on here as well. Now, if I want to modify this report, there are a couple different things that I can do. For example, you'll notice that up here at the top, my column headers are bolded and they have a bold underline. Well, the way that I have set that up is I simply left click one time on the column header, and then I right click and choose properties. Once I choose properties, now I can go into this dialog box here and choose from the different tabs and edit the associated information with this column. As you can see, here is the text item description. If I wanted to type out, description fully, I could do that as well. You can also see the width of that column. If I wanted to adjust that, I could. You can see the color down here underneath foreground. This is the color of the wording that we've chosen. If I wanted to adjust the font to make it bold or underlined or italicized, I would simply just click on the font tab, and that would give me all of the options I have here. So I can change the font, I can change the horizontal and the vertical alignment of this row and where it's located, the wording. I can also change the sizing of the wording as well. Again, if I wanted it to be bolded, italicized, if I want it to word wrap, if the column is not large enough, I can choose that here as well. And then the next tab that you have to the right is the border. And this is simply how I put the bolded underline on there for the column header. I changed the width to 0.02 to make it just a little bit wider, a little bit thicker. And then I simply chose bottom line as solid with the color that I was using for the description. When I want to save the information or anything that I have changed here, I simply just click OK, and it will then update the report with any change that I made. In this case, let's say that I didn't want to open up the properties for the item description, but I still wanted to adjust the width of the column because it's still very wide. The way that I could modify that is I could simply click twice on the item description. The first click is just on the column header. The second click is on this triangle up above. When I click on that triangle, it now allows me to grab the row or grab that column and be able to adjust the overall width. Furthermore, if I wanted to make additional changes to this table that I have here, if I wanted to add in another column, or if I wanted to add in additional information, maybe like an aggregate to total at the bottom, or something along that lines, I very well can by using what we call the wizard tool. So in this case, I'm going to shrink this column down just a little bit more, so that way when I bring another column in, I'll be able to fit it on my page. Now that I have my table selected, you'll notice that up here in the upper left-hand corner, I get a little wand. That wand allows me to open the wizard to go in and customize the columns that are currently being shown. So as you can see, in the right-hand column are the fields that I'm showing inside of the report. If I wanted to add a new column in, you'll notice that on the left-hand side here, I have a bunch of options that I can choose. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add in what my net cost is going to be. So if I wanted to see the net cost, I would simply highlight net cost and click the arrow button over. What this is going to do is give me a net cost column for each item that I currently have in my report. To show you that, I'm going to click OK so you can see that. Now in this case, you can see that yes, it is not completely on the page, so I'm going to adjust this item description a little bit more by dragging that in. And so now you can see that that net cost is now fully on the page. Now we have shrunk this item description, and if we wanted to make sure that this was going to word wrap instead of the words getting cut off, we would simply just right click inside of here, underneath item description, we would choose properties, and then underneath font, we would just make sure that word wrap was checked like it is. So now that we have checked that the word wrap is enabled for item description, we want to make our net cost column look very similar to the other column headers here at the top. So just like pricing unit, we want to underline it and we want to make sure that that header is bolded. The way that you do that is you single left click on the column header, then you right click and go to properties. In this case, with properties, now I can go in, I can change my font to be bolded, and when I go to my border, I can change my width to be 0.02 and turn the bottom line to solid so that way I visually see that now on my report. So now we can see that that net cost column is looking exactly like we want it to. Well, what if you wanted to add in an aggregate at the bottom that would sum up all of the material that you have on the job? The way that you do that is when you go into your wizard, you go to the summary tab. Underneath the summary tab here, you will see a bunch of aggregates that you can use. In this case, I want net cost, so I'll click that and then click the arrow to move it to the right-hand column here. Now, with the net cost, I need to tell it which column I want it to aggregate in. So in this case, I go to columns, I go to net cost, and now I click OK. Now what you'll see is when I go to that final page down here at the bottom, you will see the net cost showing in on the bottom of the page. If I want to modify that net cost, I can right click and go to properties, and now I can change the color. So I want to change the color to blue, and on top of that I want to make sure that we go ahead and we add in a top line here that's solid, so that way we can break it up from the other numbers. I'll click OK, and now that change has gone through. So as I go to the final pages, and if this was not on a separate page, you would be able to see it at the bottom. It's just the current way that the report is being shown right now. But realistically, down at the bottom, you would see that net cost with the color coordination there. And these are just a few simple tools that you have the ability to use inside of the Cloud Reporting Designer. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any further questions, please reach out to our tech team.